And they advertise on Craigslist.
Yeah.
It's just, and that goes on in Westchester County. Westchester County, the cops have so much problems now with meth that even if they pull high school kids over with a half a pound of weed, they usually let them go. Marijuana is not a priority anymore, even though it's still illegal in New York.
Well, if you were with High Times, and from New York, you must remember Mickey Cesar from Dial a Joint over there at 10 Bleecker Street.
I don't remember him. No.
He had Dial a Joint. This is the phone number.
Dial a Joint.
Dial a Joint. Yeah, and the number.
There was a guy when I was in high school too, called Captain Jack, I believe.
Okay.
And I think he got that from the Billy Joel song. But
yeah.
He used to give cards. I think it was even 1-800 Captain Jack. I can't remember, but he gave out business cards to who and how to get in touch with him to score weed.
Well, yeah. Well, in Staten Island too, when the Colombo family in Brooklyn was controlling the marijuana sales on Staten Island at the college and at the Willowbrook, it was Gus Faraci and those guys, And what they did was Scarpa, the Scarpa brothers, and what they did was they. If they had to move around, there would be guys there with a map, a photocopied map, and say, "Yeah, we're not here tonight. Here's the map. Go over there and get it."
Right.
Yeah. Oh my God! I tell you, the weed business is a crazy business, man. I tell you. But now you're saying, go ahead.
It's now the biggest economy in the United States. It's even surpassed cell phone sales.
Oh, really?
And it's all legal.
Now, Silvio, this guy, is he trying to get out to Colorado and get in on the ground floor out there?
There's not enough incentive economically to do it. There's too much money involved in the illegality of it.
Yeah.
That why would you move to Colorado or Seattle to sell bud for $7 to $10 a gram when you could be selling it for $30 in New York? So I've talked to him about that, and he doesn't seem interested in getting in the legal business.
Really? Okay. Now what about now? You're saying that when you were hanging around with him in Manhattan, now he was actually making deliveries himself?
He would make deliveries to high-end celebrities and very, very wealthy people. Yes,
but taking messages, orders, and sending around his cousins on the Vespas.
They would call him, and then he would fill the orders of his clients, and then the cousins would take care of everybody else.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, can you name any of these celebrities and tell us who they were?
I wish I could.
Okay.
I guess I could name one because he's in jail. Bernie Madoff was a big.
Oh, really?
Yes, Bernie Madoff was a big customer, and in fact, there was kind of a quasi love triangle between Silvio Eboli and Bernie Madoff. Silvio was married to an Israeli model that was living in New York and working at Madoff Securities, investment securities, at the Lipstick Building uptown. And of course, Madoff hired an Israeli model as a stock analyst, not because she was a stock analyst. He pressured her a lot to get her to sleep with her, and what I heard is that it never happened. But other celebrity, I guess Chris Farley. Actually, Chris Farley, I believe, introduced him into the celebrity world somewhat. Through Chris Farley, he met a lot of other members of the cast of Saturday Night Live, and then a lot of those cast members went on to become big stars. And of course, he met more people through them, and it kind of mushroomed from there. But it's an A list, It's not like, Gilligan's Island guys or anything.
Okay. Hey, Gilligan's Island, man. There's nothing wrong with them. Come on. As a matter of fact, Gilligan used to smoke pot. He got busted for smoking pot himself. Did you know that?
Denver was a really great customer.
What?
You didn't hear about Bob Denver and all the busts he had? I think he was busted with weed going to his house. He got busted when it was coming in the mail.
No, I knew that, but you're saying that he was one of Silvio's customers?
No, I said he would have been.
Oh, okay, all right, because I know he was smoking pot. Well, remember Toby Gillis? Yeah, obviously back then he was smoking pot. But I guess how'd they get the pot to the island? That's what I want to know.
Got to grow it.
Yeah, that's right, man. It would have grown some good stuff down there. Okay, now what's this about? There was something about in these notes here that I was sent over. 9/11, Silvio's experience of being in Manhattan on 9/11 and seeing his livelihood literally buried and reborn in the ash. What's that?
Well, he was working for the Irish mob that summer prior to 9/11. And that's a long story. I don't know if we have time for it, but I'll try to give you the short version. When the towers came down, the Irish mob's office was buried in debris, and there was a safe that had the emergency backup supply, and it was a quite significant amount. There was some fits and starts that summer with the delivery business that he was working for. And so they were kind of shutting down and reopening, shutting down, reopening. So it was already all messed up to begin with. 9/11 happened. Silvio, the chief is what his name of the Irish mob that was handling this delivery business in downtown Manhattan. He was buried that day on 9/11, and it took them hours to crawl out, him and a couple of other associates. They didn't even bother to think of going back in to try to get the bud that was stashed there. But crazy ass Silvio, he decided he was going to go there in the middle of the night, and he ended up getting it all. And so he already had 40 tickets, which was valued at $50 each, goes to about $2,000. But then he stole the rest of it. And the clients, over the next 2 weeks, word got out that Silvio had the goods. Everyone else was basically shut down. People were afraid to be open at that time, and that's when Silvio moved in. And the clients, the list that was with the Irish mob, the list is the list of hundreds of numbers of people who would call. Silvio had that memorized already. So normally, sometimes these lists will sell sometimes for maybe $100,000, $200,000 in between different dealers. Silvio got it for free, so he set it up. And then, of course, there was a little heat between him and the chief. But it kind of faded because the customer sided with Silvio, and Silvio. That's really the dawn or the rise of the Ganja Godfather, was in the ashes of 9/11.
Because pretty much he stole back the pot and he had the list in his head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that brings up a question, because I know even with the Yippies, because they had hundreds of pounds of pot stashed over there at 9 Bleecker Street, next to a dollar joint. But there was a stick up that went on there one night where these guys came in. Kind of like guys with the commando type guys. These were like experienced kind of with guns and mercenary types, and came in and robbed the place. Now, did Silvio ever have any kind of situation like that?
Silvio was robbed several times. I was there in between a robbery. Silvio, we actually the night the Yankees won the World Series, we were at Club 4040, Jay-Z's sports bar up on 25th Street, and we were celebrating there when the Yankees won. Headed down to McSorley's after that for an after party. There was a rumor going around that the Yankees might show up to McSorley's, so a lot of people moved down there. They never did show up. Then we went to a diner for some waffles and fried chicken, and the sun was rising, and we're heading to the studio and walking through the Lower East Side. Silvio sent me around the corner for coffee. I came back. I was looking down the street, and I saw a trail of bud on the sidewalk. And I followed it all the way to Silvio's studio door. And when I looked down the steps, it was like a basement kind of apartment studio, I saw Silvio sprawled out, covered in bud and bleeding from his head, pouring out of his head. And he calmly told me to get Afin. Afin was his muscle that lived next door. He was a Croatian, veteran of the Bosnian War with missing fingertips. Something to do with a landmine. Afin was in his pajamas when I banged on the door. He ran, got his leather overcoat in the van, grabbed Silvio. Afin's old lady came up and swept the weed off the sidewalk, shut the doors, and we went off to White Plains Hospital. I ended up getting dropped off at Grand Central, and ended up going on the lam for a while, quite some time after that. And Silvio was robbed a number of times after that in 2013. In September of 2013, he found out who it was, and there were several robberies that had happened, and Silvio had just started to get into the meth business through a girlfriend he was dating from Colombia, who was an old cocaine family that had moved into meth, and they found out, it's all in the book, they found out that Uncle Frank was orchestrating all these robberies all along.
Oh, boy.
And that's when Silvio and the family decided they also discovered some other interesting information regarding some incest in Uncle Frank. So internally, they decided they were going to take Uncle Frank out. And through the fishing business and operations they had, and some friends they had, I guess, at the Irvington Boat Club on the Hudson River, they were able to push Uncle Frank into a boat, get him out to the Atlantic, put him in a barrel, pour cement into it, and toss him out in the Atlantic.
So Uncle Frank became an anchor.
Yes.
Okay. He's sleeping with the fishes, as they say. Oh, my goodness. Now, what about Silvio? Now, when Silvio was walking around with you, did he carry a gun all the time? Or?
No, he had others carry things for him.
Very interesting.
He always had some, not always. A lot of times it was just us, but then I was there, and then I guess in some ways, another reason why he had me around so much is I think it made him feel safe with the robberies that were going on, and so if there wasn't muscle around, he always had me, even though I don't think I would have been much of a good defense, and I never carried a weapon, but he had people who carry guns for him.
Okay, gotcha. And then also the stuff about him being like a family man, and then also too fooling around on the side. What was the deal with that?
I mean, like any, I guess, powerful person who's got a lot of money and power, he has a wife and kids at home, and he's got a pretty active social life outside of his own immediate family. But he's I guess it's a little sociopathic in that regard. But he's a devoted father. He's and is a great family man, I guess.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, you're saying that he had something to do, too, with the filming of The Godfather?
Well, his family did. Patsy Eboli was married to Jean Literati, who was Al Literati's sister, and Al Literati was cast in the role as Virgil the Turk Sollozzo in The Godfather in 1971. Al Literati actually had to ask permission of Tommy Eboli to be in The Godfather, and I guess Letary ended up bringing up members of the cast and crew over to Patsy's house in Fort Lee, New Jersey, to get a taste of the mafia, and that was really the first time in history that the real and the celluloid mafia broke bread together for the first time, and Silvio was right there. He was an infant, and in fact, the story I heard is that Al Pacino, while Silvio was sleeping in his crib and Al Pacino was there, Al Pacino kissed his hand like he was like a Don, and it was a pretty unique moment in history and is actually legend in the underground criminal world.
Now, you wandering around with these guys and being in contact with them, don't you find that they more copy the Godfather movie rather than the Godfather movie copy real organized crime activity and real people in organized crime?
I don't know where it started, but I do believe that the tail has started to wag the dog. Right. It's probably been going on for a long time, and I believe that this book is a part of that. You're not. I guess you haven't really arrived unless you have a book or a movie about yourself in the 21st century. In Europe, the what they call the Facebook Mobby was a huge story last summer in Europe. The young guns of the Sicilian Mafia, who had inherited the crime families over there, were starting to post pictures of themselves on Facebook and with gold chains on yachts with gorgeous women in bikinis and all that. And it became a huge story in Europe last summer. So it's really a new generation. They really do. They want to be mythologized just as the old mobsters were mythologized before them.
What do you think of these TV shows like Mob Wives and Growing Up Gotti and that kind of stuff?
I guess those shows thrive because there's a fascination with the mafia in America. It always has been. And particularly with the Italian mafia. The Italian mafia seems to have a real grip on the entertainment world in terms of mafia films and shows and all that. And it's an amazing phenomenon, and I think one that will probably continue on for decades to come.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. People love in the United States. They love this mafia myth and these guys and the flashy lifestyle and that kind of stuff. They would totally. But anyway, we're here tonight with Toby Rogers, man, author of the Ganja Godfather, the untold story of New York City's weed kingpin. This guy Silvio